Alright guys, so in my last video I showed you how to change settings for optimal input lag to really catch a guy off guard, and the big thing is keeping your FPS nice and high. I keep circling over here, but you guys can't see my FPS, that's where my FPS counter is. But for keeping your settings nice and high, as you see right here, I have an MSI Afterburner going. This kind of gives me an idea of what's going on with my cards. SLI is working because the GPU 2 is running. How much memory I'm going to be using, which I have, I think, 4 gigs, and this game will spike on memory, so you got to be careful causing a crash. If you don't have a page file open, I suggest opening a page file. I have 16 gigs of RAM, so I disabled my page file because you really shouldn't need it. I was having memory crashes because every once in a while your RAM, not your video memory, will spike as well, and it will cause your game to crash, which is stupid, but I enabled a page file. I'm not going to go over that in this video. So this video is about if you change these settings and they just keep reverting back to normal, or if you can't get your FPS counter, or you can't get your FPS to come off of VSync, which some people have that problem. So I'm not going to apply changes because I'm just not going to do that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to leave the game. Yes, we're going to quit out. And we're going to come to our desktop here. Now the first thing you're going to do is in your NVIDIA control panel, you want your refresh rate to actually match your monitor. You go to change resolution. Sometimes it defaults at 60. Mine's 144 Hz. You have to do what your monitor is. Sometimes your monitor is 144 Hz. Sometimes your monitor is 60. Just depends. You want it to actually say what your monitor is. Sometimes people don't realize that that gets changed, and they don't even know that they should fix it. That's a nice thing. SLI, if you have SLI, you want it enabled, of course. And let's see here. There is a setting. Oh man, now I gotta try to figure out what it is. That's not it. It's manage 3D settings. I believe this is it. It takes a second. There we go. Okay, sometimes your global settings here will actually, let me see if I can find it, make vertical sync enabled all the time. So if you're having this problem, I suggest you just click it to off. It just takes vertical sync completely off. I don't have an AMD card, but you can do it in the Catalyst Control Center. Same thing. Anything that says anything about maximum FPS, maximum refresh rates, you want that off. You want to make sure your monitor matches in your resolution refresh rate in hertz. But as far as your maximum refresh rates, as far as FPS, you want that off. Now let's get into how you actually change it in the game. That's just the basic settings. Now in the game, you'll go to your local disk C, or wherever your disk is located, which if you're using through Steam, it'll be in through this way. So you're going to go to your program files, x86. You're going to go to Steam. You're going to go to Steam Apps. Common, there's your Black Ops 3. You want to go to Players. Okay, here's your config file. This is all of your settings that you configure in-game. Now, sometimes in that game, they will not stay configured for whatever stupid reason. So if they do that, you're going to come into this file. Okay, your frame rate cap. This sometimes gets stuck at 60 or whatever. I have it 240. If you'll see it, actually, you can put it up to 1,000. It actually goes past that slider in game. I don't really have a point for that because I never really run it above 240, and at that point, it's not really useful for me. So I leave it at 240, but you can change that if you want. Draw FPS, that's just the little number on top of your screen, doesn't matter. Here's your field of view. You can put it in as whatever you want if you don't like to use the slider. Split screen, that doesn't matter. Voice chat, okay. These are just, so here, your mouse smoothing. You're going to want your filter and your acceleration at 0, and then you can set your own mouse sensitivity. If you're having a hard time using the slider, you can set it at whatever you want right there. It's actually really nice, but you definitely want your filter and your acceleration to 0. It'll cause funky mouse movements. Okay, so here's some more little sensitivity tweaks you can do. It's not really that big of a deal. Number of frames the driver is allowed to acquire a lower value improves input latency but may decrease the performance. That's a huge deal right there. Input latency you want the least of. So that's a big deal. You're going to want to put that to 0 because you want very little input latency. That's your input lag. That's lag in the game. You want little lag, right? Okay, so these are just your driver stuff, your memory, not that big of a deal unless you're having specific issues, which we're not right now. Your refresh rate is your monitor that you're using, which is a drop-down box in the menu. Here you go, VSync, only applies in full screen. Sometimes even though you uncheck that sync thing I told you about, it will change this to 1 for whatever reason. You want that at 0. If you change it manually in here, it will force it to go to 0. So you want that to be 0. If you're having a hard time getting VSync off, that is huge. Make that 0. You do not want VSync in this game. Trust me, your input lag skyrockets. Absolutely skyrockets, okay? So here's some small other little things that, color spaces, that's your color choices, not that big of a deal, right? here we go. There's a couple more things I wanted to show you guys real quick, but these are all your settings. You can change anything that you possibly want in here. You can adjust, you can tweak, you can do whatever you want. Don't mess with stuff unless you kind of know what you're doing, just in case you screw it up. But these things I do know work, so that's why I'm trying to help you guys out. Here we go. I think it's the anti-aliasing technique. If you can't get it, if every time you exit out of the menu and you go back into it, it turns anti-aliasing back on to any of these. My buddy had FXAA. My other buddy had Filmic. This is a huge hit on your performance, and okay, in single player, it might look prettier, but in multiplayer, it really doesn't matter if there's a little bit of jaggies. Like, it's just not that important. It's just such a big hit for such a small thing. So you can actually just type none and make sure you do capital N just like it is here because it's code. So you want to put none right in there. That will make this game force it to have no anti-aliasing, even if it's trying to switch itself in-game. And that will actually fix your problems. You can force anything in here to work. After you're done, you just make sure you exit out. There'll be a little thing that says, would you like to save changes? You will save changes, yes. Oh, I didn't bring this up. If it doesn't automatically open in a thing, you can open it in Notepad. Sometimes they don't, for whatever reason. Notepad works just fine. So those are some things to force your computer to play Black Ops 3 better. Another little tip is I run this. It's a game booster. It kind of disables like background updates and just silly things like that can essentially cause your game to lag up or stutter up in the background, something running in the background making you lag or making your PC stutter or whatever. So I just run that. That's kind of just a recommendation. You don't really have to run it. And I like to run MSI Afterburner if I like to overclock a little bit. I have very, very, very mild overclocks. Let's see here. My standard overclock is 1. That's actually my default. And then I have a very slight overclock is 2. But in both of these, I actually have my fans turned up nice and high because I don't hear them when I game. I have my headset on. So I have a nice steep fan, so my fans are blazing while I play to keep my graphics card nice and cool. Hopefully this video helped. If it did at all, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're new. I've got all kinds of tips and stuff I try to do to keep Call of Duty and all kinds of other games playing it. I don't really specialize in this, I'm not gonna lie, but I do like Call of Duty, and there are other ways to configure lag like your router, and that helps a lot too. But right now we're just gonna go with this. If you're having input lag, if you always feel like you're a quarter second behind or just can't win a gunfight, that stuff is really useful. You want to keep your FPS nice and high and VSync off. So nice and high meaning in the hundreds. I have 144 refresh rate screen, so I want to keep mine at all times above 144. So it probably averages about 180 to 200. If you have a 60 refresh rate screen, you just kind of want to keep it above 100. At all times would be probably okay. So hopefully that helps. If it did, like I said, leave a like, leave me a comment down below of any tips you have, and subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.